With week 1 of training camp in the books, let's talk about 5 risers and 5 fallers after week 1.
Inside, and a beauty! Hall running free! Breece Hall inside the 10! He's gonna score!
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and today we're going to be going over the 5 players that I think stocks have gone up and 5 players that I think stock has gone down after the first week in pads. And let me preface this by saying we're going to avoid all of the easy answers. So no Aaron Rodgers, no Garrett Wilson, no Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed. These guys were guys that we thought and knew were superstars, and so we gave them the tag of being superstars. And like they're superstars, so that's meeting the expectation, right? And I wanted to talk about some different players so that we didn't just spend every video talking about, oh my gosh, Garrett Wilson and Rodgers looks incredible, or oh my gosh, Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed is the best cornerback duo in the NFL. We get it. We know that. Let's talk about some other players on this team, and we're going to start off with a pair of players, one riser and one faller, and this guy's falling because this guy is rising, and that's the combo of Jamien Sherwood and Quincy Williams. Jamien Sherwood, his stock has been rising, and from a lot of the people that I have talked to, he is starting to see way more reps with the first team than the second team, and he's taking those reps away from Quincy Williams, and one, that's expected. Quincy Williams has a lot of holes in his game, and as a true weak side linebacker, it just doesn't fit his skill set. He is better used as a Sam linebacker, kind of think of what Quan Alexander did for this football team. And used in a rotational role, he can actually excel in that situation. And so with Jamien Sherwood stepping up and showing that not only can he play the linebacker position, but that he can play it at a relatively high level, one, it shows that we might have found our linebacker of the future finally if Jamien Sherwood can stay healthy, but also is going to help this team by eliminating some reps that Quincy Williams gets, and we know the mistakes and the holes in his game there. So first riser, Jamien Sherwood, first faller, Quincy Williams. The second set of risers and fallers, and this is the second of 3 players that are a set, and what I mean by that is that the same position and one player is rising, which is causing the other player to fall, is Tony Adams and Ashtyn Davis. Tony Adams has skyrocketed up the depth chart and gone from being the rotational or the backup free safety to arguably the starting free safety for this football team. And week 1, I feel confident in saying that when we go out there for our first snap on defense, Tony Adams is going to be part of that starting 11. I can say that with 100% confidence because I think that's true, and I think that this team and this coaching staff absolutely love this kid. But when someone goes up, someone must go down, and Ashtyn Davis continues to not disappoint. I haven't heard anything about Ashtyn Davis, and sometimes that's good. No news is good news. But in a make-or-break year for a kid's career, when we've done so much of stacking of the safety room and the fact that we're hearing these other safeties' names, I heard things about Jordan Whitehead's game looking better, about Adrian Amos really quarterbacking and looking really good in that second team reps, Tony Adams doing incredible things for the defense in the first team reps, even Trey Dean getting pass breakups and all that stuff. You're hearing plays, good and bad, from the other safeties, but you're not hearing anything from Ashtyn Davis. It doesn't seem like he's impacting the play at all when he's out there. And like I said, in a make-or-break year, you can't have that. He needs to step up if he wants to make this 53-man roster, especially with how competitive the team is right now. And the last set of players when it comes to guys that are on the same team is going to come down to the quarterbacks, and that's Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle. While I never sold my stock on Zach Wilson has had himself a really good week and has progressed every single practice in a good direction, and on Saturday had probably one of his best practices as a New York Jet, and that's incredibly optimistic and promising from the young quarterback who is expected to be QB2. Now, because Zach Wilson is doing so well, Tim Boyle is getting rarely any looks at all, and there isn't really much of a conversation about Tim Boyle at all. We're actually hearing more about Chris Streveler when he's out there, and that's the surprising part. From the people that are in the facility, that know the stuff, that see what's going on at practice, that I'm hearing from, you don't hear Tim Boyle's name, and he was brought in to be a safety net. Can his job be at risk? Who knows? I think that this coaching staff is going to carry him as that specially designated third quarterback that doesn't take up the 53-man roster, and that makes sense. But if Zach Wilson continues to perform well, he's going to secure that quarterback 2 spot easily, and if Chris Streveler continues to do that, Tim Boyle might be on the outs, and that might spell interesting situations for the New York Jets in the quarterback room. Moving on, we're going to talk about 2 pairs of offensive players, and the first riser is going to have to be Jason Brownlee, the wide receiver. We've been talking about Jason Brownlee out of Southern Miss every single day of practice, because every single day of practice he is doing something new and something incredible. And when you have a guy who's this athletic, 6'2", 200 pounds, it's a very, very worthwhile skill set to have on the New York Jets. And remember, that's the role that Denzel Mims was supposed to fill, and for some reason it just didn't work out, and he's with the Detroit Lions and all of that stuff. But we found somebody, in the undrafted free agent pile that we can bring in, and has taken a shining to this offensive staff and is performing well. And it's not just because Aaron Rodgers is throwing the ball to him. He is doing exceptionally good things regardless of the quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is throwing the ball at him. He's having a good day. Zach Wilson is throwing the ball at him. He's having a good day. It doesn't matter. Jason Brownlee, his stock is going up. And one player whose stock is going down and continues to go down is Connor McGovern. When we re-signed Connor McGovern, the expectation was maybe we wouldn't draft the center. We did in Joe Tippmann, and Joe Tippmann has been absolutely dominating the second team reps. But then comes another competitor. Wes Schweitzer, and we talked about this in yesterday's video, is legitimately competing for the starting center job. And what does that mean? Well, Connor McGovern has been the center for the New York Jets for a long time. And if Joe Tippmann, a rookie who was brought in to be his replacement, but also a free agent that we were able to bring in for really little money, is also competing for his job, it doesn't seem like Connor McGovern's job is super secure. And the other thing that I'm starting to hear rumblings about is that there is limited spots. There are only 53 spots, and the New York Jets have no idea how they're going to deliberate and carry these 53 spots, because there are some players that seem like they're going to make the roster. Nick Bawden is a great example of a guy who's going to make the 53, and if that's the case, where are we going to be taking a position away? Is it the tight end room? Probably not. Nathaniel Hackett loves his tight ends. Is it the running back room? Probably not. We've got a lot of really good tight ends, and Nathaniel Hackett's a run-first kind of coordinator. Is it in the defensive back room? Who knows? But one of the places that might sacrifice is the interior of the offensive line, because we have so many guys that can play on the outside, can play on the inside, can play center, can play guard. And if Connor McGovern can't keep his job, why would we keep him on the roster? I'm not saying that he's a roster bubble guy yet, but if you're buying stocks or you're selling stocks, I would sell my stocks on Connor McGovern, because Joe Tippmann and Wes Schweitzer stocks keep going up. And if they're going up, someone must come down. And that's that. And then the last players that we're going to talk about is going to be, I'm going to start with the last faller, and that's Michael Carter, the running back. After having a really good day one, he has cooled off incredibly. Now, how much of that is because of the fact that the offensive line is having a hard time with the defensive line, especially because we're not running in pads, we're just thumping? Who knows? And look, the running game is working, but Michael Carter was expected to, in the absence of Breece Hall, take that job and run with it, and he hasn't done so. From everything that I've heard, the running back competition is truly 4 deep with Michael Carter, Israel Abanikanda, Zonovan Knight, and I forget his name. I believe it's Chris. I think it's Chris Dye, the undrafted free agent out of USC. They all have a legitimate shot at making this roster, And that also means that they all have a legitimate shot of not making this roster. No one is really standing out as like, this guy is a clear cut going to make the roster, but we've had good days from everybody. Like I said, the first day, Michael Carter stood out. The third day, Bam Knight stood out. The fourth day, Chris Dye stood out. Izzy stood out on the second day. Everybody is having a standout day, but nobody is able to separate themselves from the pack. And Michael Carter, as the third-year running back, not being able to separate himself from two rookies and a sophomore undrafted free agent running back is kind of concerning in the grand scheme of things. I'm hoping he can turn it around once the pads get on and the offensive line can really start getting a little bit more aggressive and creating the holes, but it's not a good sign. And the last player whose stock is going up is Jermaine Johnson. We've talked about him every day of training camp, and if he keeps dominating in the way that he is, we're going to continue talking about him every single day of training camp. He is absolutely taking advantage of the new body, new strength, new athleticism, and speed and burst that he created this offseason, and he is poised to have a breakout year and to legitimately start taking away snaps from the first team edges in Carl Lawson and Jonathan Franklin Myers, because Jermaine Johnson is absolutely dominating. Let me know in the comment section below, is there any player that you think is whose stock is going up? Is there another player who you think the stock is going down? Let me know in the comment section below. And last but not least, go Jets.